Welcome to Sproutcast, where we speak with changemakers, social innovators, and entrepreneurs about how to make the world a better place.
Tickets are now available for Sprout Summit 2016. This year we're in Melbourne on the 29th of July. Check out sproutsummit.com for more information or to sign up to our newsletter for the latest program updates and announcements. We hope to see many of you there and that you have the opportunity to meet other Sproutcast listeners and hear from more amazing speakers on doing business and doing good.
And now, here's your host, Julia Duffy.
Welcome back to Sproutcast. My name is Julia Duffy and today we're speaking with Chris Raine, founder and CEO of Hello Sunday Morning. Hello Sunday Morning is a charity and online movement towards a better drinking culture. In this episode, we chat about alignment in partnerships, the downsides of non-profit structures, and different journeys towards finding purpose in your work. Welcome to Sproutcast, Chris.
Thank you.
So, Chris, I wanted to start by asking you about your background in and early experiences of the NFP sector. How did you first kind of become aware of it and involved with it? And what influence, if any, did it have on what you've then gone on to do in the sector?
So my background was in business, in advertising. And so I did a number of businesses and then worked in advertising and was a nightclub promoter for several years. And then working in an agency in 2008, I was charged with the opportunity to come up with a campaign around youth binge drinking in Australia, and realizing that none of what we were doing really was going to make an impact on the culture that we had, found the opportunity to actually go and experience that would give me that understanding on a very visceral level. So I decided to take a year off drinking and see for myself what that particular change was like in order to then create something that would help other people do that. So a number of different things happened, but the biggest thing that probably happened over that year is I realized how large an opportunity there is to create this product, service, and cultural change that didn't really exist in Australia and perhaps around the world. And so I set up a not-for-profit largely because it was the easiest way to access support from government services as an unproven entity. So I set up an organisation with Free Hills as our pro bono law partner, and set up a board. And I think the reason for that was that we needed capital to grow. We're having a social impact and solving a problem that governments found difficult. So the best way for us to exist at that time was to set up a not-for-profit, which gives a certain level of credibility as a new group of young people and a new organisation in order to access those monies.
Excellent. And so maybe this is a good opportunity for you to tell us a little bit more about what it is that your organisation does. And I understand that, I guess it's different from other organisations that are interested in kind of health and community health awareness in its use of technology. Could you explain that to us?
Sure. So Hello Sunday Morning is an organisation focused on building technology to help people change their relationship with alcohol, but also help people use their story to reflect on their own relationship with alcohol in a larger context of the culture. So we help people on an individual level, but we also help change the cultural narrative around drinking through a blogging process that people do through our program. So it's largely free for most people, and we're funded through government partnerships, foundation partnerships, and corporate partnerships. And our mission is to make it as easy as possible for a person that wants to change the way they drink to access immediate and effective support to do that.
And you spoke just before about where the initial idea came from, or kind of what you were doing around the time that you first came up with this idea. How did you know that it was, I guess, as a slightly different model for this type of organisation or this type of program? How did you know that it was something that would work? And did you do any testing? Was there kind of research behind this, or was it kind of testing as you went?
Yeah, so everything that we've done has. My background isn't. I don't have a clinical background, but from day one, everything that we've gone through has been and built has come from the science. So the best practice in how you help someone change their relationship with alcohol, that's written in the academic literature. So we build from that base and continue to do so. But what's different about what we can do with technology is a lot of those ideas can scale to a much larger audience, and some work and some don't. And so we then use data to see what does work for which kinds of people, to adapt our products to help people in the best possible way. So we fail a lot, and a lot of things that we do don't work, and they don't resonate. And so this is a massive learning process for us. But it's meant that we can continue to evolve and build this really great knowledge base within Hello Sunday Morning, but also with our academic partners at University of Queensland and University of Sydney, to make sure that we're also contributing to the literature around what is effective to help people with this particular challenge.
Excellent. So you're feeding that information back into the research programs. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. And so we have partnerships with universities and the Centre for Youth Substance and Alcohol Research. And for us, contributing to that change is really important, because we think that the model of behaviour change has either been largely since the 1930s, the largest organisation doing it is Alcoholics Anonymous. The thing they do really well is bringing a community of people together. So they are really successful at that. But the model of treatment and the kind of literature behind it doesn't really exist. And so it's never really evolved and changed. Whereas when you take a purely academic approach to it, a purely clinical approach, often the services that are built in that context are one-on-one. All the change happens between four walls, and it's rarely scalable or designed well, nor does it have this really powerful thing that is a community. So that in really good product development that provides clinical behaviour change, there's trade-offs between those two camps, but the best way to do that well is to translate the academic stuff into the community reality, and then take the data from the community experience and then put that back into the academic research. So the next organisation, the next Hello Sunday Morning, can take that and they can avoid some of the mistakes that we've made and learn from some of the successes that we've had.
Excellent. That's fascinating. I'm interested in the partnerships you mentioned there. How did they come about? Was that something where you approached the academic institutions, or did they come looking for you?
It's a bit of both. I think as we've gotten older and had some level of success, the tables have turned a little bit. But from the very beginning, and we still pursue really great partnerships. And I think that's something that we've very much matured into in thinking about how we achieve success. You really can't do it alone. Like, I think there was a sort of part of me personally that was like, oh, look at how crap this system is in the beginning. And I was like, oh, can do it so much better. And then you run into the same problems that created the situation in the first place. So yeah, I think it's really important if you're an entrepreneur or looking to have a social impact, to realize that systematic change is almost always way better than revolutionary change. And to create systematic change, you need really good partners within the system that are aligned on a values level, and the work that you can do is so much greater together than what you can do by yourself.
Did you have any advice on pursuing partnerships in the early stages of an organisation? Are there different approaches that you took that were more or less successful?
Yeah, I think get a university on board, get a corporate partner on board, I think the best partnerships for us have been finding an organisation that your success would make them more successful. So an example for us is our corporate partnerships in Vodafone, NFP, Macquarie Bank. Success for them is to have a legitimacy with their customers, with their employees and the community that represents a sense of goodwill. So as a charity, with a charity brand that does have a really powerful brand that people respect and like, there's a capital in that these corporate partners are like, okay, the more that we can associate with this brand, the better our employees are going to enjoy working here because we're having a positive impact on the community. And also there's some good PR in us engaging with them that displays that sense of corporate value to the rest of the world. So our success with them is that they give us money and we make them look good and part of the community. In Vodafone's case, our success also means that they're putting themselves in, because we do a lot of mobile technology, that we do that really well. So, and success for us is to get more people using their mobiles to make better choices around drinking. So everyone's winning there. And so when you get these aligned values towards success, the work ends up happening. When you don't have aligned success and you have, kind of obscure partnerships with some sort of, one person in the organization that really loves what you do, but the rest of the organization isn't aligned in that way, and they sort of sign a check and there's no real interest there, it just doesn't go very far, and you don't get the kind of synergistic value that you get from a partnership where people are really aligned in that way. So I think it's, to answer that question, there's a part in really knowing who you are and where you want to go and what value you bring to the world. And it might not be the value that you communicate to all stakeholders, but understanding that and then coming to the table with that and with another party is like, yes, we want to be part of that. The magic happens in ways that you can't imagine.
Awesome. I wanted to also chat with you about the early stages of getting Hello Sunday Morning off the ground and kind of the process of going from having that idea to actually being fully fledged, launched, kind of out in the world. At what point did that happen? How did you know it was the right time for it to happen? Did you get kind of advice on that?
It happened from the day I thought, it wouldn't be interesting to see what life was like without a hangover for a year. And then I wrote a blog, like the first blog, and that wasn't an organization. It wasn't really anything other than just a blog that I wrote weekly. And that was the same. It was like that for 6 months. So, and in that 6 months, I did a shitload of researching and talking to people and understanding like the complexity of the challenge in Australia and around the world. And so it was very much an iterative process and was out in the world from day one. And I think along the way, you find resources and people to help you out. And if you're authentic around like what you want to do and you can explain it simply enough, and not that you can always do that, but I think people are really willing to help, things that they have a sense of aligned values with, and they think that it's a good thing in that context. So I think it's hard to it's a really hard question. People say, oh, how do you know when the product's done or when things are ready to be launched? And, there's trade-offs in all of it. I think it really comes down to you, what you want to do, and intuitively what you feel is right for your particular challenge. I think delaying it as long as you possibly can until you know that it's going to get done and it's going to be out in the world is probably a good thing. But also delaying it too long in which you never do it and it just becomes an idea that is intellectualized is a problem in itself. So there's no, I don't think there's an answer to that question. It's very much a case by case situation.
Okay, interesting. And in the process that you undertook, could you talk to me about some of the challenges you've faced, and perhaps is there anything you think now, looking back, that you would have done differently?
Yeah, I think, even in the corporate structure, I think if I was to do it now and today with these new corporate structures that are existing, such as B Corps or public benefit corporations, I actually wouldn't have set it up as a charity. I think a charity has a function, and particularly with a problem where there's no market solution for it. But in technology, often it's a much measurable outcome. So there is a market, whether it's government, health insurers, or people themselves. So my advice wouldn't be to think, oh, social good, therefore it has to be a not-for-profit. I think there's many more options available to social entrepreneurs today, even in the last 5 years, or even this year. And that's really exciting because that means that a lot more people that have entrepreneurial inclinations but don't want to do it just to make money. They want to do it to have a great impact, have many more vehicles to do that, which means it opens up the talent pool in a much greater way. So I think history is being written right now around what the future of an organization is, both from a social sector but also a corporate sector. And there's a much greater webbing between those two that, I think being open and pursuing that in different ways is probably really important to consider. So that would be my one piece of advice for people that are considering this as a career choice.
What would you say were, I guess, specifically in your situation, the downsides of being a not-for-profit or a charity as opposed to a social enterprise or a B Corp or something like that?
Yeah, so I think you always have money. You always need to get money no matter what you do in our world. It's not a prerequisite. It gives things a longevity well beyond a person's level of energy because there's some economic value. And even in Hello Sunday Morning, we run it like a business and setting up a vehicle in which we can take investment into the future so that we can grow it. Particularly in tech, it's really expensive when you're competing with a software startup that can either pay people in really great salaries or equity. As a charity, we have struggled because it's put us in a situation where it's really expensive to get these people. So we haven't got we can't commit to 12, 24-month contracts with people to build a really great tech team. So it's ultimately been more expensive for us because we have to get this funding from grants and government sort of sponsorship and all this stuff that requires a lot of energy in the first place, but it's not enough. And it's not enough sustainability for us to bring a team internally, so it becomes more expensive for us to outsource that to an agency that's even more expensive than having it on the inside. So it's a bit of a catch-22 situation. So if we were a B Corp or a public benefit corporation that has mission lock on what service we provide, but is able to access investment capital in exchange for equity or impact investing capital, or even offer equity to our staff, it makes it a much easier proposition to build a great team quickly. And I think if if that were the case and we're sort of moving in this direction and working out what that might mean for us and how we do that well, I think we could have got to where we were much quicker, much faster, and had a much greater impact on not just Australia but also worldwide. So the charity model, I think the absolute charity model, like the sort of church benevolent society kind of situation that is almost outside reprieve in a sense, like it's sort of outside the world and, you know, delivering a value, but you're also trying to do it in a commercial way. And the pure profit model on the other end of the spectrum that doesn't take into account the externalities of the service that they're providing, I think both those systems are dead. And, you know, over the next 20 years, we need organisations that not only are financially responsible on one end of the spectrum, but also responsible to their customers and their employees on the social impact that they're having. And on the other side, we need organisations that not only just deliver an outcome which can be distorted and measured in different ways, but also have a sense of financial and community responsibility to the resources with which they're distributing. So I think moving to the centre of what it means to be an organisation, whether you're a not-for-profit or a for-profit, I think is they're labels that there's a much larger grey area between those two that I'm really excited about, because it means that we can, you know, address some of those problems that we've faced in our infancy much quicker.
Are there many organisations in the sector at the moment that you're seeing kind of successfully bridging that gap, or really doing that in an interesting way that you could share with us, or even if there's any factors that you think really help organisations in that space to stand out from the crowd and to be successful?
Yeah. So there's a few that have sort of popped up over the last few years in Australia and overseas. There's ones that are focused on diabetes and health issues. So like Hit 100's a new startup in Australia, and then there's Prevent now in the US that have really interesting financing models that can be user pay, but also insurer pay, that, you know, create this social change, but do it in a sustainable way and get revenue to grow. There's a lot of really good sort of accessible therapy services now. So Talkspace, and there's a new one in Australia that I think was just launched. That's awesome. There's Jordan O'Reilly's Hire Up, I think it's called, which is an employment service to help people with disability get into work, and they've just received investment. I think it's like $4.5 million or something to scale what they're doing as a tech business, sort of avoiding the problems that we've gone through. So there's a lot of really great, you know, businesses like that. And then, you know, there's a lot in Africa. Like one of my friends does a company called Off Grid, which essentially rents lighting and electrical appliances out in Tanzania, and they've just raised tens of millions of dollars to scale that across a larger part of Africa. So, yeah, I mean, there's countless examples of for-profit companies or B Corps or public benefit corporations that are measuring their outcomes and impact, not just by shareholder revenue, but equally, and if not more importantly, on the impact that they're having with not just their customers, but the greater world. And I think this is the future, and it's the future because customers want that, entrepreneurs want that, so then they get at the end of their career with a lot of money and no meaning, and investors want that because they're looking for meaning from what they've done and want to contribute to the world in a powerful way. And I think there's an alignment of incentives and values in the world that this cultural shift in the corporate structure is making.
Excellent. And I guess tying into that, I'm wondering if you had any advice for people out there who are thinking of or hoping to become more involved in something that creates some social impact. So I guess not necessarily working in a non-profit organisation or starting a non-profit organisation, but I guess potentially also in a social enterprise. How could they become, or what's some good starting points for becoming more involved?
I get this question a lot, and I think probably if I may answer the question in a way you probably don't expect, I think not understanding I think you have to go on life as a personal journey and understanding what makes you happy and the people that you want to work with and the values that you have and the kind of tribe that you see as making you successful is the most important question that one can and should ask. And because I see a lot of people that think they're going to find that in the not-for-profit world or the social entrepreneurship world, and they end up in a worse environment with less money than when they were in the corporate world and they were actually happy, because I think that that's going to give them, meaning. And so I think finding what truly you enjoy to do is more important than contributing to some concept of what meaning is in the world, number one. And then if you haven't found that in what you're doing now, and there's a sense that you want to do something differently, I don't think making it about the story of giving social impact or making money is the thing that you should go for. I think you should try and find the right people that you want to work with, and then I think the impact that you'll have will flow from that. So really it's a personal understanding and doing and having the courage to read a lot of psychology, sociology or philosophy to really understand your own brain and your own emotional system and your own shit, like your own baggage that you carry into the world, is the first point and a journey that we all need to go on. And then from there, look at the right environment to help you thrive and flourish. So, yeah, I don't know that if someone's in a corporate job thinking, I want to find some meaning in my life, that just, you never escape yourself. So, like going and work for a charity, I think might make you happy for a short amount of time because that narrative will work. But unless there's a personal transformation that happens, you kind of end back at square one. So that would be my advice to someone considering these questions.
Excellent. It really ties in with something another guest on the podcast said in an earlier episode. We had Aaron Hurst on, and he was talking about finding purpose in whatever you do. And for some people, that is, I guess, just as you've said, in a corporate job, potentially more so than in working for a charity. And then you can find that in maybe improving the organisation that you're working for, even if it is, say, a bank or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. No, not banks. Banks are evil.
I just wanted to end, Chris, by asking you, I guess, to reflect back on what the process of starting Hello Sunday Morning has been like, and whether you would recommend someone else undertaking the same type of thing.
I 100% would. I think for me and the HSM team, we have grown and changed and learnt so much through this process and made countless mistakes and had so many good things happen to and had so many great experiences. It's an absolute privilege to live in a society which is, again, really rare and unique, where we have the ability to work on our own psychology and the psychology of other people and improve people's lives both significantly and also marginally. And we just have an enormous sense of gratitude to have that option. And I would 100% recommend pursuing that path if you can.
Before we wrap up, how can people get in contact with you if they want to learn more about what you've said today or learn more about what your organisation does?
Match me on Tinder. I'm kidding. Get in just online everywhere, obviously, as a tech business. So you can get in touch with me through Twitter, or you can get in touch with me through Hello Sunday Morning website. It's pretty easy. So for us who we're looking for to join our team, our passion is around helping people use drugs better in society. So we're looking for people that are interested and passionate about health and psychology and mental health, as well as data and technology and how that can be applied to those challenges. And 100% authentic people that are willing to explore themselves and their own lives and grow and learn and experience new things. And so anyone that sort of fits that triad, please do get in touch, and we're always looking for new people to join our team.
Excellent. And you can also download your app, is that correct?
That's right, yeah. Download the app or sign up on the website. We'll have a new integrated version of those products out in early next year. So look out for that and look forward to helping as many of you as I possibly can.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the show today, Chris. It's been a real pleasure to chat with you.
Thanks for having me.
One more quick thing before you go. Early bird tickets are now available for Sprout Summit 2016. This year we're in Melbourne on the 29th of July. Check out sproutsummit.com for more information or to sign up to our newsletter for the latest program updates and announcements. We hope to see many of you there and that you have the opportunity to meet other Sproutcast listeners and hear from more amazing speakers on doing business and doing good.